Okay, so you're thinking about buying a new iPhone and you're thinking about the 13, 14, 15, or 16e. Which one should you get? Let me tell you. How is it going, everybody? You're watching Then About Tech, and today I bring you another one of my iPhone buyer's guide, and today we're gonna talk about the entry-level iPhones, 13, 14, 15, and 16e. In this video, I'm gonna tell you what you really need to consider before getting one of those guys, what you actually wanna know. I'm not gonna go super deep into details, tech specs, and anything like that. That's not the point. I'm gonna tell you what you actually wanna know. And I wanna start off crossing two iPhones off this list just like that. The iPhone 13 and the iPhone 14 just don't make any sense. Simply because they're so close in price compared to the 15 and the 16e. It makes absolutely no sense spending that amount of money on a 13, on 14, when you can just spend a few more dollars and get way better, way more updated phones, which are the 15 and the 16e. So the real battle here in this video is between those two guys. Let's talk about them. Let me tell you a story. Last year, a friend of mine had a site that went viral overnight. Great problem to have, right? Except their hosting provider wasn't ready for the traffic. The site crashed, sales vanished, and the stress levels through the roof, as you can imagine. That's why I told him about Kinsta, web hosting for WordPress that takes the stress out of running a website. From the moment you sign up, their team takes care of speed, security, and support so you can focus on the important stuff, like running your business. Their setup can make your site run up to 200% faster thanks to edge caching, Google Cloud's premium network, and 37 global data centers. And with enterprise-level firewalls, DDoS protection, and SOC 2 compliance, your data stays safe. If you want hosting that just works, check out Kinsta. They'll move your website for free, your first month's free, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Links in the description or scan the QR code on the screen. Now, let's get back to the video. First of all, let's talk about performance. The iPhone 16e has way more performance compared to the iPhone 15, and that's because of a better chip and more RAM. So the iPhone 16e actually has a A18 Bionic inside, which is 2 generations ahead compared to the A16 on the iPhone 15. Yep, 2 generations ahead. And it actually has 8 gigabytes of RAM instead of 6 gigabytes of RAM that the iPhone 15 has inside. That on its own is a big difference, and that's mainly because of Apple Intelligence. But of course, we're gonna talk about Apple Intelligence in a second. The same happens when we're talking about the battery, which is way better on the iPhone 16e. It actually has 20% more performance compared to the 15, and I'm talking about real life performance that you can actually use, that you can actually notice and feel. So it's just way more battery in the end of the day, and that's mainly because of the better processor. The iPhone 16e also has the action button, which in my opinion is a big deal on its own. I particularly use it every single day, all day. If you don't know what it is, it's that button that sits on top of your volume button that you can actually map to anything. You can actually press and hold it to open an app, to trigger a feature, trigger a shortcut, absolutely anything, and I really like having the action button. And of course, the iPhone 16e, as I mentioned before, is compatible with Apple Intelligence. And even though pretty much no one uses Apple Intelligence, I don't use it, I don't know many people who actually uses it, but it's good to have because we never know what Apple will implement with Apple Intelligence in the following months or years. And another thing that's important when we're thinking about Apple Intelligence is many cool features of the iPhone actually require Apple Intelligence in the background, so you don't really know you're using it, but you are. Like for example, live translation on your AirPods. You need to have Apple Intelligence even though you don't really realize you're using it. And of course, there is much more to come. But of course, the iPhone 16e isn't better than the iPhone 15 in every single way. It loses some things to actually be viable. One of those things is obviously the camera. The iPhone 16e doesn't have the second camera. It just has the main camera. And when we're talking about the second camera, I'm talking about the ultra wide. Keep in mind that the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 16e series, both of them, they lack the telephoto, the zoom camera. Neither of those iPhones have that. But the iPhone 15, it actually has the ultra wide. So that's something you have to keep in mind. On top of that, the iPhone 15 has the dynamic island, which the iPhone 16e doesn't. It has your typical notch. And last but not least, the iPhone 15 has MagSafe, which the iPhone 16e doesn't. It can charge wirelessly. It is compatible with wireless charging, but it just doesn't have the magnets. So it doesn't glue to the charger. So it can charge, but without the gluey, without the magnet. So keep that in mind. So then, when we're thinking about which one is best, is really difficult because it depends a lot on what you actually think is important. Now, before I actually give you my conclusion here, I have to tell you that the iPhone 16e right now, pretty much in all markets around the world, is actually cheaper than the iPhone 15. Of course, comparing both of them new, or comparing both of them like used in a relatively similar state. But of course, the 16e is newer, so we have to keep that in mind. But as a whole, in general, the iPhone 16e is cheaper than the iPhone 15. And when we consider that you actually spend less money to get a phone that's newer, with better performance, with better battery, with similar camera. Keep in mind, the main camera, the camera we use the most, is going to be exactly the same. Okay, you just lose that telephoto that opens up. So you can think about if that's important to you. So when we consider that it is better in so many different ways, it has the action button, but it loses on others. It's a tough call, but in my opinion, for my use, if I were to choose and buy, I would get the iPhone 16e simply because I don't really use the ultra wide. I think the dynamic island is a cool thing, but it's not a necessary feature. It's just kind of a gimmick. It's fun and cool and interesting, but it's not necessary. And MagSafe, I personally don't use it that much on my daily basis. I generally charge my iPhone with the normal USB cable or when I'm driving my car, and that's not MagSafe. That's your typical wireless charging, which the iPhone 16e is fully, completely compatible, no problem at all. So then, spending less money, having more performance, having the same main camera, having more battery, having one more button, and of course, knowing that my iPhone will be updated and will be compatible for more years compared to the iPhone 15, which doesn't even have Apple Intelligence. To me, for my use, it's very easy. I would get the iPhone 16e. But to you, of course, you have to consider that, consider the differences, and maybe the 15 will be the best bet. But again, I'd recommend the 16e. So, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one as usual. Bye-bye, guys.